Oh boy, today's video is going to get a bit strange, which should be no surprise because Hey Arnold is a regular on this channel for being weird. Today's episode is no exception. We're going to be discussing the time Sid planned to murder Stinky. Yeah, this is about to get crazy. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you would like, and without further ado, let's get into this video. Now this episode kicks off with Arnold, Stinky, and Sid at the movies seeing some scary movie about vampires. And as you can see, Sid is absolutely terrified. Now in this movie, they basically discuss how to point out a vampire if you were ever to cross paths with one. You guys know the usual stuff: sensitivity to sunlight, allergic to garlic, and last but not least, a thirst for blood. Now when this movie was over, Arnold and Stinky were discussing what they were going to do next, but this man Sid on the other hand was like, "No can do, guys, I have to get home." You know, before it gets dark. Arnold was like, "Bruh, it's 3:30. Are you serious right now?" Sid says, "I don't want to be outside when the night walking bloodthirsty vampire wolves come in search of human blood." This man Stinky was like, "Jesus, Sid, I never knew you were such a scaredy cat." And this man Stinky is too funny, bruh, because he says, "Then what are you hanging around me for? On account of I'm a vampire and I want to suck your blood." This man Sid was legit scared. Like, come on Sid, really dude? Arnold and Stinky both assure Sid that vampires weren't real, but he just insists they are and hurries home. Now it was later that night at Sid's crib, and this man was up making sure there weren't any vampires in his house before he went to bed. So he gets in bed and finally falls asleep, but his nightmare had only just began. Literally, in Sid's dream, he was awakened by Stinky trying to suck his blood and chasing him around some house that wasn't his, and he actually gets bit in his dream. He wakes up relieved that it wasn't real, but this dream had did more damage to Sid's mental state than you'd think. So it's the next day in class, and Arnold had asked Sid how he was doing because this man seemed stressed out. He says, "I'm fine, Arnold. I'm totally not thinking about vampires at all. Yep, I'm good." This is when Rhonda compliments Stinky on the new glasses he had got. Stinky had supposedly got these glasses to keep the sun out of his eyes because they were sensitive. And of course, because they made Stinky look stylish. Yeah, but you guys already know what that movie said earlier. So at this point, Sid's starting to become very suspicious about Stinky. This next situation that occurs doesn't help at all, because when the guys were in the lunchroom, the lunch lady had asked Stinky if he wanted garlic bread, and Stinky declined, saying he never touches garlic. And you already know Sid's vampire senses were going off. We are taken to another situation where Stinky was attempting to sign up for a blood donation, but he couldn't sign up because the blood drive was for staff and faculty only. Stinky says,
"That's too bad, ma'am. On account of blood drives are among my all-time favorite school functions."
This man Sid had dropped everything and ran out terrified. It was later that day when he pulls Arnold in a closet and starts to explain to him about all the weird stuff he's been seeing with Stinky. He says, "It's crazy, Arnold. It's just like in the movie. I mean, first this guy walks in with these weird glasses, then he turns down the garlic bread at lunch. I mean, come on Arnold, who doesn't like garlic bread? Then he gets super upset about a blood drive. A freaking blood drive, Arnold." Arnold was like, "Whoa, slow down Sid. What are you talking about?" He says, "I'm talking about Stinky. He's a freaking vampire."
Come on, Sid. A lot of people wear sunglasses. It doesn't make them vampires. Neither does not liking garlic.
He says, "And as far as the blood drive goes, I'm pretty sure he was just excited about the free cookies they give out." So even after explaining this to Sid, he was still convinced that Stinky was a vampire. He was determined to prove this to Arnold. So what does Sid do? He puts a plan in effect. Sid goes to the library and picks up this book called How to Prove Your Friend is a Vampire. That book is pretty goddamn specific. So Sid stays up one night reading this book, and one of the first things it says to do is see if they have a reflection. So the next day, Sid stakes out by Stinky's locker to get a good photo of him. And as we can see, when Sid takes the picture, at that very moment Stinky ducks to pick something up. So now this man Sid thinks he doesn't have a reflection. So of course he tries to present this photo to Arnold, but Arnold was like, Sid, what is this? It's literally nothing there. Sid says, that's the point. He has no reflection, Arnold. He can't see himself in the mirror either, and they can't be photographed. Arnold says, Sid, this doesn't prove anything besides the fact that you're a bad photographer. Now he was reading the next part of the book, and apparently this section had told Sid to check for unusually large teeth, fangs to be exact. So Stinky was in the cafeteria eating his lunch when this man Sid goes into secret agent mode and gets closer to Stinky to observe his teeth. Except he didn't do this. He just took the man's sandwich and called this evidence, saying, look how big this bite is, Arnold. Pretty scary, huh? And as you can see, this man Arnold was not trying to hear any of this. He tells Sid that's only a bologna sandwich and to get that the fuck out of his face. Sid was trying to say the sandwich had big fang marks, but if that's the case, I must be a vampire as well, because that's usually how my burger looks when I get a quarter pounder from McDonald's. Bruh. And by this time, Stinky had noticed the sandwich was gone.
Hey, where's my sandwich?
Bro, why is this man Stinky so hilarious to me? He's just funny as being himself, to be honest. But yeah, Sid was on the bus later that day and he was reading the next chapter. It says,
The third step in figuring out if your friend is a grisly, night-walking fiend is to catch him in the transformed state of big, hairy vampire bat.
So this man sneaks on top of Stinky's house to spy on him. Yeah, Sid, I think you're taking this a little too far, man. This is when this man looks up and a whole freaking bat head came out of nowhere. Alright, not gonna lie. Stinky, why the f do you have bats flying around your house, my guy? Yeah, that's strange. But Sid catches the bat and he was under the impression that the bat was Stinky. So the next day, he presents the bat to Arnold saying, see Arnold, look, it's Stinky in his hideous bat stage. He says, I know it's Stinky because I caught it flying right out of his room. Also, some kid earlier had told Sid they didn't see Stinky on the bus this morning. Arnold says that doesn't prove anything. He's probably just sick at home. And after saying this, he lets the bat go. And Sid was super upset about this, saying, look at what you did, Arnold. You just released a freaking monster. Now he can come get revenge on me. Now this is when this episode takes a dark turn. Listen to what Sid says next.
I'm doomed! You are not doomed, Sid.
Yes, I am. And now my only chance of survival is to go to Stinky's house tonight and eliminate him before he eliminates me.
Basically, this man was planning to murder Stinky tonight. Arnold says, okay, bruh. If this is how it's going to be, I guess I have no choice but to go with you.
I don't see anything. Wait a minute, there he is. That's kind of odd.
Yeah, my guy Stinky was putting on his Dracula coat, getting in that mode. Sid says, see what I mean, Arnold? Now, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that Stinky's outfit was a little suspicious, but maybe my guy just likes to cosplay or something.
Come on.
Arnold, look!
So they head in for a closer look, and what they see next is pretty fucking weird. This man Stinky was attempting to take a bite out of a whole goat. What the f? Yeah, Stinky definitely isn't a vampire, but I think we all can agree he's on some weird stuff. Arnold says,
I know what it looks like, Sid, but there's no way.
The guy's in there, sucking on the neck of a goat. What more do you need?
And what happens next is even weirder. We see this man Stinky actually getting inside a coffin. Sid says, yup, that does it. That's the nail in the coffin. Arnold had even admitted that Stinky's behavior was weird, but maybe it was all just a big misunderstanding. And at this point, Sid had had enough. He says, we must take action. This is when this man pulls out a flimsy artificial sword. Like, bruh, what are you gonna do with that thing? Scratch this man's back? Sid tells Arnold to wait there and keep guard while he sneaks around the back. But instead of doing that, Arnold just knocks on the door and explains the whole situation to Stinky. Now Stinky was confused as to why Sid would think he's a vampire, but Arnold tells him, well, for one, look what you're wearing. And what about the goat? We saw you bite its neck. Also, what's up with the coffin, man? That's pretty damn weird. Sid then storms in saying,
Aha! At At last, I have reached the Dark One's lair.
Now before Sid could finish this man off, Stinky had an explanation for everything. So as far as the coat, that was really just his nightgown. Apparently he wore it so the collar could keep his ears warm at night. Sid says,
Yeah, right. And I'm sure you have just as clever an explanation as to why you were maliciously sucking the blood out of the neck of that poor innocent goat.
now apparently the goat wasn't real and this was just some taxidermy project. He said he wasn't sucking his blood, he was biting off a piece of thread that was stuck. Sid says, yeah right, and I bet that coffin over there isn't real either. He says, it's not a coffin, this was just a tanning bed that his dad had converted from a coffin. Yeah, that shit is still weird. Who wants to tan in a goddamn coffin? Yeah, I think I'll pass, fam. Now this man Sid was still convinced, but this all changed once he saw that Stinky had a reflection.
What do you see?
I see two ghoulish, horrible vampires in a mirror.
How can we be vampires if we have reflections?
Sid, you got to stay off them drugs, man. Now, if you thought this episode was done being weird, then you're wrong. Because after the guys chat some more and Arnold and Sid leave, Stinky's bat returns and Stinky starts telling his pet Bet about the crazy day he's had. This is when Stinky finally exposes his true form. Take a look at this. Damn, so Sid was actually right the entire time. What do you know? But tell me what you guys think about this strange episode of Hey Arnold down in the comments below. And until next time, peace.